Hey, welcome, Mustang fans, to this very special edition of the Mustang Owners Podcast. I'm your host, John Clore, and my co host, Mike Ray, is out on a special assignment today. So, this is a very special edition of the podcast. I need all of you to pay close attention. So, go grab a nice cold drink, maybe a warm one or a hot toddy, and let's sit down and talk about what we can do to make the Mustang Owners Podcast more yours, telling your Mustang story and put a couple of upgrades on it, kind of like what you do with your own Mustang. Now, we're not talking about, putting on body cladding, major body work, or paint job, but we are talking about performance upgrades, upgrades that make you more interested in our podcast. First of all, Mike and I want to thank you for all the wonderful traffic we got over the holidays, especially the Bob Perkins tour. What a great tour that was. And when the YouTube algorithm took that off, let me tell you guys, people started noticing how cool this stuff is. These cars are awesome. And when we get the right guests, we know you're engaged. The second thing is, I hope you've checked out our special interview with Edsel Ford II. Those kinds of interviews are really important to us, and we think they'll be enlightening to you as well. But beyond the interviews, beyond the podcast format, we want to ask you, our listeners and viewers, to tell us what you think about our plan to upgrade the Mustang Owners Podcast. So here's a couple ideas. And when I get to these ideas, anything that comes into your mind, put them in the comments, and everything you say in the comments will be taken to heart. And you might be one of the people that, help build our project podcast, just like a guy that went to a garage and helped build your buddy's Mustang. So one of the first things we want to do is we want to add a news element to the Mustang Owners Podcast every week. We know stuff happens in our hobby, and stuff happens at Ford. Stuff happens with the Mustang every single week. So rather than just do an interview with someone or do a feature car or a feature story, how about we include one department as we kick off the podcast, something that's in the news that particular week. So every week we're on top of what's going on in the Mustang hobby. So that's one thing we want to push. Mike wants to call it in the fast lane. Just a couple of items that are going on so we can weigh in on them and get your response on, what really think is important that's happening in the Mustang. The other thing we want to, of course, we're going to do our topic of the week, and we'll have our interview of the day. That won't change. But another thing that people have been pushing us for is a little bit of Mustang history. Both Mike and I have been immersed in that stuff. I've written a couple of Mustang books. We know a lot of historians that want to help. And the Mustang history stuff is really important because a lot of the stuff you see on YouTube, online, is wrong. It's AI slop. It's and you guys can tell when you hear when you see a video, it's that same AI voice, and you're seeing, oh, here's a 69 Mustang, and it happens to be a 69 Chevelle. That's all wrong. So we can bring in real experts, people names that in the Mustang hobby, to come in and talk about Mustang history. If you like that educational side, we can bring that element into the podcast every single week. And we think it's just something to be more fun. The other part is tech sessions. We've got a lot of people that are into tech. Are you guys interested in tech? Would anybody out there would like to talk about, camshafts or brake upgrades on your Mustang, or engine swaps, paint, bodywork, wheels and tires? Would you like that tech side? Because we have a lot of tech people, a lot of people that we used to be on the Ford Performance Tech Line and Ford Performance Info Center. They're going away, and we want to bring them in and talk about issues with your car, and bring in real experts that used to work at the Romeo engine plant, or guys that build race motors. If that's interesting to you, we could bring that in. Say so down in the comments. The other thing we want to talk about a little bit is the kind of stuff we do find. I know you see things on the internet, and I know because you're not necessarily putting them in the comments, but you are sending them to us via email. And they say, John, is this true? Or Mike, is this true? And so we want to do a section called It Must Be True, because I saw it on the internet. And that way you can surface those things, and we can go and check to make sure that it's either AI slop, or is it really happening, or hit our rumor mill and talk to the people we know inside the company to see what is exactly going on and what is just, garbage. The other thing we want to do is, we talk about everybody's got a Mustang story, and I'm sure all of you do, and we want to hear all of your Mustang stories. So how we can do that every week is we could do a little section just for a minute or two called Pride in My Ride, where you can send us a picture of your car, tell us a little bit about your Mustang story, and then you can be on YouTube on every podcast with us, so that every podcast has a Mustang on it and a Mustang story that is yours, that we're telling your story each and every single week. And, there's a couple other things you can do. We want to do my favorite comment. Now, I've got some special stuff that I've got when working at Ford that you can only have if you're on the Ford team. And I'd be willing to part with one of them, make maybe a special staff Ford Performance pin I can send you in the mail for our favorite comment. And all you'd have to do is comment. Now, because everybody knows that if you don't like and you don't comment and you don't subscribe, we're not going to get picked up by the YouTube algorithm. It's the evil monster that will keep all this great Mustang stuff, even though you and I like it, a lot of your friends like it, it'll keep it away from all the other people that want to hear Mustang stuff. They want to be on the podcast, but YouTube is not sharing it. So please, everybody subscribe. It's free, costs you nothing. Like if you like it, put that thumbs up. That helps share it with all the other people that like Mustang. And the other thing is comment. And this particular episode right now, it's all about your comments. What you say tonight on our comment section and your opinions really count. So if you like any of these ideas that I've just given you, send them along. Do you like trivia? A lot of people get stumped on Mustang trivia. How about each week we give you just a brief piece of Mustang trivia? So when you're out at Buffalo Wild Wings and some of the guys telling you about Mustang trivia, you can give them one that you got off the podcast that week. And you can trust that it's going to be correct. So that's the kind of stuff we want to bring. We got to add to the podcast. We don't want to take anything away. We don't want to break that formula that's making you watch and like and subscribe. But what we do want to do is get you more involved. So can we upgrade the podcast? Can you upgrade your Mustang? Sure you can. And we can do it too. But we don't want to do it without you and your comments. So do us a huge favor today. Any of those things, the in the news, the topic in the interview, if you like them, who do you want to see? What kind of interviews do you want? Maybe it's trivia. Maybe it's history. Maybe it's tech. Maybe the AI slop. It must be true. It's on the internet. Maybe it's pride in your ride. You want to show off your Mustang to us every week. Maybe do viewer mail every week rather than do a mailbag session. Or maybe it's our favorite comment. Would you guys like a fan club? Would you like special limited access content? Maybe sitting down with just me, Mike Ray, and maybe Jim Smart, so that you have one-on-one. We could do a forum together. Would that be something that you'd be in? I don't know. Maybe you would. Would you like special photo downloads that we can get from our photographers? Or maybe you'd like, instead of sponsors, trust me, we don't want to do sponsors of maybe somebody's socks or, that drink that you pour into some water and it tastes like a spinach Brussels sprouts shake. We don't want those as sponsors. We want Mustang sponsors. The guys that make parts and, the brake parts and the auto parts guys, Mustang guys. We'll get those sponsors. Would a discount at a sponsor make you want to like and subscribe more? So all those things count. All we need is your comments today on this special episode of the Mustang Owners Podcast. And what'll happen is Mike and I will sit down, we'll go through it. Maybe we'll do a studio type podcast where instead of, the two, maybe we sit down together. We'll do something in front of a bunch of Mustangs on location. There's all kinds of things we can do to make the Mustang Owners Podcast better for you. So there's only one way to do it, and that's the comment. So hopefully you'll take some of this to heart, take a few moments, think about what I've said. And Mike and I are looking forward to your comments on this. Or you can send us an email, jclor, JCLOR, at carsincontext.com. This all happened because someone sent me an email and said they looked up on YouTube my old TV show called Cars in Context TV. And they looked at it. I think the episode's like 10 years old. And they looked at an episode about why racing is losing fans. I think it was episode number 82. So if you want to go check that out, it's a 10-year-old, and it's still correct, by the way. And they looked at that and they said how the pace of that show and all the different things we did, they wanted the Mustang Owners Podcast to be like that. And that was what spurred us on to think maybe we'll give you this special episode and a chance to weigh in on how we can make this better for you. So if you want to check that out, it's Cars in Context TV on YouTube. Or, like I said, listen to any of these ideas. Or maybe you have an idea of your own. Maybe we haven't covered something. We're all ears, except these are big enough. So we're going to be all watching the comment section next week. Make sure you check in again next week, because every week you never know what's going to show up on the Mustang Owners Podcast. Hopefully you like, subscribe, and by all means, share and comment. Well, thanks for joining us today on this Mustang Owners Podcast special edition. Looking forward to what you have to say to us. And say to your fellow Mustang Owners podcast listeners and watchers. So make it happen, guys. Until next time, I'll catch you down the road.